Have you ever wondered why you feel an undercurrent of resentment from those around you, even when you've done nothing but try to please them? Why friendship so often masks competition? Why affection curdles into suspicion the moment you begin to assert yourself? Let us be clear from the start. People hate what they cannot control. They hate the mirror that reflects their own inadequacy, their hidden envy, their unspoken fears. This hatred is rarely declared openly. It emerges in subtle dismissals, in the cold smile, in the polite betrayal. And you must see it for what it is, not personal failure, but proof that you have become inconvenient to their illusions. Do not flatter yourself that you are universally liked. No one is, especially not those who dare to define themselves. Most live in chains forged from the need to be accepted. They moderate their words, shrink their ambitions, betray their own instincts to remain in the warm circle of approval. They bow to the collective's unspoken rules. Do not be too different. Do not be too direct. Do not threaten the comfort of others with your own clarity. But you, if you are listening to me now, have already sensed the cost of this. The constant self-surveillance, the anxiety of wondering how you are perceived, the cheap currency of small lies told to keep everyone comfortable. Understand this: you cannot hold on to your integrity and be universally liked. You cannot speak truth and not stir resentment. Niccolò Machiavelli himself observed that men are quick to forget the death of a father, but never the loss of their inheritance. People may forgive any cruelty except the cruelty of exposing their dependence on you. You see, when you show strength, when you withdraw your easy compliance, when you refuse to be manipulated by flattery or guilt, you create discomfort. You tear away the comforting mask that others have put upon you, the role they cast you in without your consent, and they will hate you for it, even if they do not say so. They will call you arrogant when you assert a boundary. They will call you cold when you refuse to explain yourself. They will call you selfish when you choose yourself over their demands. But in truth, they are not condemning you. They are condemning the threat you pose to their sense of control. The silence you maintain forces them to hear their own thoughts. Your absence reveals how much they depended on your presence to avoid themselves. Consider how easily people project their own flaws onto others. They accuse you of pride to mask their own envy. They interpret your withdrawal as judgment because they know, deep down, they are guilty of needing you too much. Machiavelli understood this well, that men judge by appearances because few can see beyond them. But you must see. You must learn to observe the pattern. Notice who grows cold when you set a boundary, who begins to gossip when you say no, who suddenly forgets your kindness when you stop serving their needs. These are not random acts. They are the precise reactions of people losing control over you. And if you crave universal love, you will surrender your freedom to get it. You will become a puppet pulled by 1,000 strings, all because you could not endure the thought of being disliked. Ask yourself this: why do you want their approval so badly? Why do you feel guilty for disappointing those who would not hesitate to drain you dry? Why do you apologize for existing in a form that does not make them comfortable? Because you have been trained to believe that harmony is always good, that conflict is failure, that being liked is proof of your worth. But harmony without respect is submission. Peace bought with self-betrayal is not peace but quiet enslavement. You must choose to be liked or to be respected. One is easy, the other costs you everything, and yet only one leaves you free. Let me tell you something unsettling. Even if you do everything right, even if you are generous, patient, kind, people will still find reasons to resent you. They will resent your talent. They will resent your independence. They will resent that you see through them. The illusion that you can earn universal affection is a lie that keeps you obedient. It keeps you from confronting the simple truth that influence, respect, even love, real love, are all born from the willingness to be disliked, from the refusal to bend your truth for the comfort of others. Machiavelli did not write for those who wish to be loved by all, but for those who wish to rule themselves. There is power in understanding this. Power in knowing that their hatred is a signal, not of your cruelty but of your refusal to be used. When you stop apologizing for your boundaries, you expose the unspoken contract they had with you, the one where you gave and they took. When you stop explaining yourself, you break the frame that always cast you as the defendant in their private court. When you become silent, you force them to hear the questions they have long buried. Who are they without your compliance? What do they control when you no longer react? Your silence is not absence. It is a provocation. It is a mirror held up to their weakness. and they will hate you for it. Let them. Because hatred born of your independence is worth more than affection purchased with self-betrayal. The goal is not to provoke for its own sake, but to be willing to provoke simply by being real, to know that you can endure the discomfort of their rejection without rushing to soothe them, to understand that every time you deny your own needs to be liked, you are feeding their contempt for you. For what is more pathetic than the man who always yields? What is more despised than the one who cannot say no? If you are to command respect, your own above all, you must make peace with being disliked. You must see their resentment not as a verdict on your character, but as proof of your refusal to be dominated. And in that understanding lies your freedom. Because once you stop fearing their disapproval, you become ungovernable. You no longer shape yourself to their desires. You no longer edit your truth to avoid their anger. You speak less, but what you say matters. You appear less often, but when you do, your presence carries weight. They can love you or hate you, but they will know they cannot move you without your consent. That is the essence of power, and that is where we begin. Do you know why people find your boundaries offensive? It is not because they believe you are wrong, but because your refusal to bend exposes how much they relied on your weakness. Your no is not just a word, it is an unveiling. It reveals their dependence, their entitlement, the quiet contracts they wrote in their heads where you would always comply. They hate you because you force them to face the truth about themselves, and few can bear that mirror. Machiavelli understood this brutal dynamic well. The prince who wishes to hold power cannot be universally loved. He must choose respect over affection, for affection is fickle and respect endures. And so must you. If you want control over your own life, you must be willing to forfeit the illusion of pleasing everyone. Consider what happens when you stop explaining yourself. The silence that follows is not empty. It is filled with accusation, with their discomfort, with the noise of their unspoken fears. They demand your justification not because they deserve it, but because your refusal unsettles them. It steals their power to define you. Remember this, people cannot tolerate what they cannot predict. Your unpredictability makes them anxious. Your silence becomes hostile in their eyes precisely because it is sovereign. It suggests that you do not owe them your reasoning, your vulnerability, your emotional labor, and this, to many, is unforgivable. They will call you arrogant because you no longer validate their ego. They will call you cruel because you no longer soothe their insecurities. They will label you selfish because you finally put yourself first. But understand the strategy behind these accusations. These words are not true judgments of your character. They are tools designed to herd you back into compliance. When someone cannot control you through affection, they will try to do so through guilt. And you must be able to see this manipulation for what it is, a negotiation where the price of peace is your surrender. You must ask yourself if you are willing to pay that price forever. Look at the world around you. How many people are hollowed out by the need to be liked? How many swallow their rage, their truth, their dreams, just to avoid conflict? They wear smiles like armor and speak in pleasantries that hide their despair. And for what? Approval. Inclusion in circles that offer nothing but mediocrity and quiet resentment. They sell their authenticity for scraps of acceptance. But here is the Machiavellian truth. No one respects the man who cannot stand alone. Dependence invites exploitation. Predictability invites manipulation. If you want to be free, you must be able to endure standing apart. Your willingness to be misunderstood is your shield. Your calm refusal to explain is your fortress. This does not mean you must become cold, unfeeling, inhuman. It means you must choose your words with precision. Speak only when it serves you. Reveal only what you wish to be known. Silence is not absence. It is presence, sharpened and controlled. Those who hate you for this were never allies of your freedom. They were allies of your submission. They thrived when you were predictable, when you said yes without thought, when you rushed to fix every discomfort. The moment you stop, they reveal themselves not as friends, but as jailers whose prison walls were made of your own guilt. Ask yourself why you are so afraid to disappoint them. What contract did you sign that you must always be agreeable? Did you think this would buy you loyalty, gratitude, love? Machiavelli would laugh at such naivete. Loyalty bought through appeasement is worthless. Gratitude for self-betrayal is short-lived. Love that demands your sacrifice is nothing but control in disguise. If you want to be free, you must be ready to be alone, to stand in the silence after you say no, to watch the doors close, And no, you did not close them. They did, because they could not bear the weight of your independence. You will see it clearly once you stop chasing their approval. The accusations will come first. How dare you change? How dare you set boundaries? How dare you think you deserve peace? And when you refuse to explain, when you hold your ground, they will withdraw. They will sulk. They will gossip. They will try to make you the villain in the story they tell themselves so they do not have to confront their own dependence. Let them, because when you endure this storm without apology, you reveal something they cannot control, that you are no longer available as a resource for their comfort. And here is the hidden truth few admit. People respect what they cannot easily access. They value what they must earn. The more you give without demand, the less they appreciate it. The more you explain, the less they believe you. The more you rush to soothe, the less they respect your calm. In scarcity there is value. In mystery there is power. Machiavelli knew that appearances matter more than intentions, and nothing appears more formidable than a man who needs nothing from those who would use him. Be that man. Be willing to hold your silence while they flail and accuse. It is the price of your freedom. You think you are losing people when you withdraw? Perhaps you are. But consider, who are you losing? Those who demanded your constant compliance. Those who felt entitled to your energy. Those who thrived on your guilt. Their departure is not a loss. It is liberation. It creates space for those who can respect your boundaries, who can meet you without needing to control you. And more importantly, it gives you back to yourself, your time, your energy, your dignity. These are not luxuries, they are necessities for anyone who wishes to live by their own design, rather than as a puppet in someone else's play. So let them hate you, let them whisper, let them leave. The cost of their approval was too high. And as you stand there, solitary perhaps, but unbent, you will feel something you have not felt in years. Your own power returning, your own voice unedited, your own values unnegotiated. This is the foundation on which you will build everything else. And in that moment, you will understand the true meaning of freedom, not the ability to say yes to everything, but the unflinching capacity to say no. Do you know what truly unnerves people about your silence? It is not merely that you refuse to speak. It is that you refuse to be predictable. Your silence is a closed door they cannot see through, a lock they cannot pick, a question they cannot answer. And for those who have grown fat on your easy compliance, this is intolerable. Understand, when you are always available, always responsive, always ready to explain and justify, you were predictable, you were safe for them. You were a map they could navigate, a tool they could wield. Your silence destroys that illusion of mastery. It forces them to confront the unsettling possibility that they never really knew you, and worse, that they cannot control you. Machiavelli would tell you that power lies in perception, and perception is built on mystery as much as clarity. The predictable man is at the mercy of others, for they can anticipate his moves, his needs, his weaknesses. But the man who is silent, who observes before speaking, who withholds more than he gives, is a problem no one knows how to solve. He cannot be cornered by guilt or obligation. He cannot be baited into reaction. He is opaque, unreadable, and therefore dangerous to those who rely on manipulation. This is why they hate you when you withdraw. Not because you have wronged them, but because you have denied them access to the levers they once used so easily. Consider how people test your boundaries. They provoke you, insult you, bait you into explaining yourself. Why? Because your explanation is an opening. Your defensiveness is a surrender. Every word you use to justify your boundary is a concession that it is negotiable. Your reaction proves they still have influence over you. But when you respond with silence, when you refuse to engage, you rob them of that power. They will accuse you of arrogance, of being cold, of thinking you are better than them. Let them, for these accusations are not judgments, they are confessions. They reveal precisely how dependent they were on your willingness to be pliable. Ask yourself, how many times have you betrayed yourself for peace? How often have you smiled while seething inside, agreed while disagreeing, said yes while screaming no in your own head? You did this not out of kindness, but out of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being labeled difficult, selfish, uncooperative. But you must understand, a peace bought with self-betrayal is no peace at all. It is a quiet war against your own soul. Machiavelli did not counsel princes to avoid cruelty at all costs. He taught them to use it wisely, sparingly, decisively. Likewise, your withdrawal, your silence, your refusal to explain must not be arbitrary but deliberate. It is not cowardice, it is strategy. Notice how those who claim to love you react when you change, when you say no, when you take longer to reply, when you refuse to justify. The ones who loved your accessibility, your readiness to solve their crises, your constant emotional labor, they will call you unrecognizable. They will say you have changed, and they are right. You have. You are no longer willing to be the convenient mirror for their ego, the sponge for their anxiety, the resource they exploit without thought. And this change threatens them, because it forces them to either respect your new boundaries or leave. Many will choose to leave, but understand, their departure is not abandonment, it is exposure. Exposure of the truth that they were never there for you, only for what you gave them. And when you stop giving, they vanish. Let them, grieve if you must, but do not chase them, for in their place you will find something rarer, your own integrity, the capacity to choose who deserves your time, your attention, your emotional labor, the courage to endure solitude rather than settle for exploitation. Machiavelli would say it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But I will tell you this, it is better to be respected than loved if the love demands your subservience. You will discover that those who remain, those who adapt to your boundaries, are worth infinitely more. They will not fear your silence, but honor it. They will not demand your constant presence, but appreciate it when given. They will not interpret your no as rejection, but as honesty. These are the people with whom genuine connection is possible, but you cannot find them while surrounded by those who fear your independence. Your willingness to be alone is the filter through which true allies are revealed. Solitude is the crucible in which self-respect is forged. And yes, solitude will test you. There will be nights when you doubt yourself, when the silence feels suffocating, when you question whether you were too harsh, too unyielding. This is the price of breaking your conditioning. The world has trained you to equate validation with safety, to see approval as proof of your goodness, to treat other people's comfort as your responsibility. Reject this training. Your worth does not depend on their ease. Your goodness is not measured by your availability. Your life is not owed to anyone who would use guilt as a leash. Machiavelli taught that fortune favors the bold, but boldness is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet certainty of a man who knows he does not have to perform for the crowd. It is the calm defiance of someone who can watch doors close and not beg for them to reopen. It is the disciplined refusal to explain your choices to those who have already decided you are wrong for making them. This is not cruelty, it is self-preservation. And in a world that rewards compliance and punishes difference, it is nothing less than an act of rebellion. So I ask you now, will you endure their hatred? Will you allow yourself to be misunderstood? Will you risk being seen as selfish, cold, difficult, all so you can finally be free? Or will you keep trading your authenticity for cheap approval, your peace for hollow praise, your power for their comfort? Choose carefully, because once you see this dynamic for what it is, you cannot unsee it. And once you refuse to play the role they wrote for you, you will never be welcome on that stage again. But you will have something far greater than their applause. You will have yourself. Have you noticed how quickly people weaponize your empathy against you? How they praise your kindness while exploiting it? How they applaud your generosity as long as it serves them, but curse your boundaries the moment you decide to protect yourself? This is the hypocrisy at the heart of human relations. They love you pliable, agreeable, soft. They love you useful. But the second you choose yourself, truly choose yourself, they will claim you have betrayed them. Understand this, you are not obligated to be anyone's savior. You are not required to sacrifice your peace for their convenience. Machiavelli knew that those who cannot defend their own interests will be devoured by those who can. You think your goodness will shield you from malice, but often it only marks you as easy prey. Observe how they react when you say no. Notice the disappointment that curdles into resentment, the feigned confusion. Why are you being like this? As if your compliance was their birthright. They will call you ungrateful, forgetting every time they took you for granted. They will accuse you of changing, ignoring how they changed the moment you stopped making yourself small for their comfort. Do not be fooled by these performances. These are not the cries of the wounded innocent. They are the last desperate attempts to drag you back into the role you once played so well. Because when you change the rules, you expose the unfairness of the old game. and no one likes being shown their own duplicity. Ask yourself, who benefits from your guilt? Who profits from your inability to say no? Who grows stronger every time you silence your own needs? These are not the people who love you. These are the people who love what you do for them, and their hatred is not proof of your wrongdoing. It is proof that you have become unusable. Machiavelli would advise you to see such hatred as a badge of progress, because true independence will always breed resentment in those who thrived on your dependence. Your withdrawal is not an insult, it is an audit. It reveals who was loyal to you and who was loyal only to their comfort. Consider this: you were trained from childhood to be good, to share, to apologize first, to keep the peace, to avoid conflict. But no one taught you that peace without respect is slavery, that a yes born of fear is not virtue but surrender, that appeasement is not kindness but self-erasure. The world will never teach you this because it profits from your ignorance. Your employer, your partner, your friends, even your family, they all benefit when you place their needs before your own without question, and so they celebrate your selflessness, while quietly resenting any sign of self-respect. They will tell you that love means sacrifice, but they will never tell you that sacrifice must be mutual, that boundaries are the true test of respect. So when you finally draw a line, expect backlash. When you say enough, prepare for accusations. When you choose silence over explanation, be ready for them to fill that silence with their worst projections. Let them. Do not rush to correct them. Do not scramble to prove your goodness. Because in that moment, your silence is not absence, it is revelation. It is the mirror they cannot stand to look into. Machiavelli understood that the most powerful threat is not force but unpredictability. Your refusal to explain yourself makes you unreadable, unmanageable, unassailable, and they will hate you for it. Good, let them. They will say you are cold, better cold than compliant. They will say you are arrogant, better arrogant than self-sacrificing to the point of ruin. They will say you think you are better than them, and maybe you are, if only because you have finally learned to value your own soul over their approval. This is the uncomfortable truth no one wants to speak aloud. Those who demand your humility are rarely humble themselves. Those who preach sacrifice rarely sacrifice in return. They have simply learned the power of moral blackmail, and you in your guilt were their willing accomplice, but no more. Do you want to be respected? Then you must become dangerous, not in the sense of harming others, but in the sense of refusing to be harmed by them. Dangerous because you cannot be guilted into submission. Dangerous because your kindness is a choice, not a compulsion. Dangerous because you know your value and will not discount it for approval. Machiavelli would tell you this is the essence of power, the ability to choose your own terms, to accept or reject, to engage or withdraw without apology. It is not cruelty, it is sovereignty. Look at the relationships that fell apart when you stopped overgiving. Did they collapse because you became a worse person, or because you stopped playing the role they wrote for you? Did you lose friends because you turned cruel, or because you dared to set limits? This is the truth that hurts the most. When you grow, you force everyone around you to reevaluate the terms of your connection, and not everyone is willing to do that work. Not everyone wants to see you as a whole person with needs and limits. Some only wanted the version of you that served them. So let them go. Watch them walk away without chasing. Your worth was never measured by your ability to keep them comfortable. It is measured by your ability to stand alone if necessary, to face their disappointment without flinching, to hear their accusations without swallowing them as truth. Because the moment you decide you will no longer explain yourself, you reclaim every part of you that was given away piecemeal. Your time, your energy, your peace, your dignity. This is the price of freedom. It is not cheap. It will cost you the approval of those who never really valued you. It will cost you the illusion of being liked by everyone. It will cost you the safety of being predictable. But what you gain is beyond measure. You gain the clarity to see who truly respects you, the strength to walk away from what insults your soul, the calm that comes from no longer negotiating your worth, and above all, you gain yourself whole, unbent, unapologetic, and that is a treasure no one can take from you. Do you feel the silence pressing in now? That heavy, uncomfortable space that opens up when you stop explaining, stop apologizing, stop filling the air with words designed to soothe and reassure. Sit with it, because in that silence lies truth, The truth about you, about them, about the entire dishonest system of emotional debt you have been paying all your life. Machiavelli would tell you that people fear what they do not understand, and nothing is harder to understand than the man who does not justify himself. Your silence is not emptiness. It is a boundary. It is a fortress. It is the declaration that you will not participate in your own exploitation anymore. Think about the faces of those who demanded your time, your energy, your emotional labor. How quickly did their gratitude turn to anger when you set limits? How easily did praise become accusation? They never wanted you free. They wanted you compliant. They wanted you reliable in your self-betrayal. And when you refuse that role, you confront them with their own dependence on your sacrifice. This is why they hate you, not for any cruelty you committed, but for the audacity of choosing yourself. It is your freedom they cannot forgive. People want you predictable because predictability is control. They want to know you will answer the phone at midnight, that you will nod politely when insulted, that you will smile while your boundaries are violated. They want to know you will soothe their fears even as yours are ignored. When you stop performing these roles, they panic, they accuse, they withdraw. Let them reveal themselves. Your silence does not create these truths. It only uncovers them. Machiavelli wrote that men forget the death of their fathers more quickly than the loss of their patrimony. Likewise, people will forget your kindness faster than they will forgive the moment you deny them what they think they own, your obedience. Understand this. You owe no one an explanation for protecting your peace. You owe no one a performance of suffering to prove your goodness. Your boundaries are not negotiations. They are statements of fact, and anyone who cannot accept them is announcing they were never truly interested in you, only in your usefulness. This is the hardest lesson to learn because it is the loneliest. You will lose people. You will lose invitations. You will lose the false comfort of being liked. But what you gain is incorruptible. You gain clarity. You gain respect. You gain yourself. Do not mistake this path for an easy one. It is anything but. When you stop explaining yourself, you will feel the weight of every unspoken expectation pressing against you. You will hear the ghosts of your conditioning whispering that you are selfish, ungrateful, difficult. You will see the confusion in the eyes of those who cannot understand why you will no longer dance to their tune. This is the price of becoming sovereign. You must endure being misunderstood. You must tolerate being called cruel by those who benefited from your kindness. You must learn to be calm in the face of their outrage, to hold your ground when they demand your surrender. They will test you. They will try to provoke you back into the old patterns. A snide comment, a guilt trip, a tearful plea. They know your buttons because you showed them where they were, and so the real work begins, disabling those buttons. No one can make you feel guilty without your consent. No one can force you to react if you choose silence. No one can manipulate you if you know your own worth. Machiavelli would remind you that mercy without strategy is weakness, and kindness without limits is ruin. Your silence is not cruelty. It is the discipline that protects everything you hold sacred. Reflect on your own life. How much energy have you wasted trying to manage others' perceptions? How many hours have you spent rehearsing explanations, crafting justifications, composing apologies for the crime of having needs? How often have you said yes while dying to say no? This is not nobility. This is servitude, and the world will never thank you for it. It will only demand more of your time, more of your energy, more of your soul, until there is nothing left but resentment and emptiness. Enough. Let the silence fall like a guillotine on those expectations. Let the words you no longer say become monuments to your liberation. Because there is a hidden power in being quiet, not passive, not defeated, but quiet like a deep ocean, unbothered by surface storms. Quiet like a man who knows he cannot be baited. Quiet like someone who knows that the truth does not require his defense. When you become this man, the world loses its hold on you. The manipulators lose their leverage. The opportunists lose their access. And those who remain, those who stay despite your silence, despite your boundaries, are the ones worth keeping, because they do not fear your sovereignty. They respect it. So I ask you now, can you endure being disliked? Can you bear the weight of silence when it is heavy with all the things you refuse to justify? Can you let go of the need to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you? This is the crucible of your transformation, the test of whether you will remain a servant to others' comfort, or claim the throne of your own life. Machiavelli would not promise you love for this choice. He would promise you respect. And in the end, that is worth far more. Because love without respect is exploitation, and approval without boundaries is slavery. You must decide what you want. Do you want to be liked by all and owned by all? Or do you want to be respected, even if it costs you cheap affection? Do you want peace that is conditional on your submission, or the kind that comes from knowing you will not betray yourself no matter who demands it? The choice is yours, and once made, it must be defended without apology, without explanation, without the need to be forgiven for existing as you are. Because the moment you explain yourself, you surrender the power of your silence, and in that silence lies the blueprint of your freedom. When you finally choose silence over explanation, something remarkable begins to happen. The world, once so loud with its demands, grows uneasy. The people who counted on your endless yes start to stumble over your quiet no. Those who found comfort in your self-sacrifice begin to feel exposed, confronted not by anything you say, but by everything you withhold. Machiavelli would say this is the point where power shifts hands. When you stop playing your assigned role, you force everyone else to reveal theirs, and you will see them clearly, perhaps for the first time, not as friends or partners or allies, but as participants in a bargain you never fully agreed to, a bargain where your peace was the price of their comfort. You will be called selfish for refusing to explain. You will be labeled cruel for protecting your time. You will be judged arrogant for not justifying your decisions. Let them speak. Let them rage. Let them gossip. Because these accusations are confessions in disguise. They admit that your compliance was never love. It was convenience. It was control. And the fact that you now withhold it is intolerable to those who believed they were entitled to it forever. Your silence is the first time you have truly spoken your worth, and the outrage it causes is proof that they heard you. Expect loneliness. Not the loneliness of abandonment, but the loneliness of clarity. The loneliness that comes when you no longer surround yourself with those who need you weak. This is the cost of choosing yourself. You will sit with doubts. You will remember old patterns that once brought you approval. You will feel the ache of doors closing, but endure it. For this is the sacred isolation Machiavelli understood well, the retreat where you are no longer performing, where you are no longer reacting, where you are no longer available for cheap consumption. It is here, in this silence, that you reclaim the energy you scattered across 1,000 unworthy causes. In time, you will find that this silence is not emptiness. It is space. Space to think, space to choose, space to become. The world wants you distracted, reactive, constantly explaining yourself so you never notice how much of yourself you've given away. But in the quiet, you begin to see the borders of your own soul. You begin to feel the weight of your own needs, your own desires, your own truth, and you realize how little of it was ever really respected by those who claim to love you. This realization will burn. Let it. The fire of truth is the forge of transformation. Because once you endure this silence, you emerge changed, no longer desperate to be understood by everyone, no longer willing to barter your authenticity for approval, no longer afraid of disappointing those who only loved you compliant. You speak less, but your words have weight. You appear less, but your presence carries power. You give less, but what you give is real, and you demand the same in return. Not from everyone, but from those who would stand beside you in truth, rather than hover over you in control. Machiavelli taught that power is the ability to act on your own terms, and your silence is the birthplace of that ability. Consider the relationships that survive this transformation. They will be fewer, yes, but stronger. These are the people who do not punish your boundaries, who do not crumble when you say no, who do not demand you sacrifice your soul to prove your love. They will respect you not in spite of your independence, but because of it. And in that respect lies the possibility of real connection. Connection built not on obligation, but on mutual choice. These bonds are rarer than you think, but they cannot be found while you are busy explaining yourself to those who refuse to listen. You will also see those who cannot stay. Let them go. Their departure is not your failure, it is your freedom. You do not need relationships that only survive when you are willing to vanish into them. You do not need friends who love the mask and fear the face beneath. You do not need to apologize for the space you occupy, the truth you speak, the peace you defend. Machiavelli would say that mercy without judgment is weakness. Your silence is that judgment. It is the refusal to negotiate with those who will only ever see you as a resource to be mined. So ask yourself now, in this final moment, are you willing to be alone if it means being whole? Are you prepared to be misunderstood if it means being honest? Can you endure their hatred if it means you no longer hate yourself? This is the crucible, this is the price, and this is the freedom they never wanted you to discover. Because a person who no longer explains themselves cannot be managed. A person who refuses to justify cannot be controlled. A person who is willing to stand alone cannot be conquered. Remember this always. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is sovereignty. It is the final proof that you have nothing left to prove. So choose it. Choose the discomfort of the unsaid over the betrayal of the self. Choose the respect that comes from mystery over the contempt that comes from predictability. Choose the freedom that comes from knowing you owe no one your explanation. Because in the end, when the noise dies down and the crowds disperse, the only question that remains is whether you lived for their approval or your own truth. And the answer to that question is written, not in the words you spoke to them, but in the silence you kept for yourself. If you have made it this far, it's because a part of you is already prepared to walk this harder path. A part of you understands that being accepted by everyone means nothing if you have to abandon yourself to get it. True self-respect begins the moment you choose yourself, even if it costs you approval, even if it means standing alone for a while. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, even hated, all in the name of your own freedom? Are you willing to pay the price of being fully, unapologetically you? If this message spoke to you, if it made sense, write in the comments, I choose my freedom. Let's see how many here are ready for that transition. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. It's more important than you might realize. See you there.